in a marriage situation is the true meaning of the word to know God. There is only one way that you can truly know God, and that is not by knowledge. It's by having a relationship with God. That's the only way you can know God, by relationship. Well, what is the basic relationship we have with God? First of all, God is your Father. That's where it starts. God is your Father. But now, of course, we understand that the living soul was taken out of Christ Jesus. He was taken out of Christ Jesus in Genesis chapter 2. A deep sleep fell upon Adam, and the female part of his being was taken out. Because the spirit is male and female. Remember, this is an allegory, this is not literal. Your soul and spirit have never been separated. First of all, because it's impossible. It is not possible to separate the spirit from the soul, or the soul from the spirit. And there is no such thing as a male spirit and a female spirit. The spirit itself is male and female. Yes. All right? So, the knowledge that a man has of his wife, it's called carnal knowledge, if it's illicit. But if it's true knowledge, that is, you're married to your wife or to your husband. If you're married, then of course it's legitimate to have that knowledge. But what is that knowledge? That knowledge is not a knowledge which is intellectual at all. When I say that I know my wife, what am I saying? Am I saying that I know her birthday? I know, where she was born? I know her mother and father, or I knew them. I know, what she did when she was young. I know some of the incidents that were in her life. Is that what I'm talking about? No. I'm talking about a knowledge which actually is spiritual. Because you couldn't even tell me your knowledge of your wife, even if you wanted to. You couldn't tell me. Why? What would you tell me? Because it's a nebulous thing. It's like it doesn't fit into this world at all. But you have a knowledge of your wife. And that knowledge is sacred. That knowledge is sacred. And I want to tell you, there's nobody in the whole wide world that knows my wife like I know her. And many people know my wife, but they don't know her like I know her. You see? And that knowledge is the knowledge that you must have of God. And if you don't have that knowledge, you will never know God. So how can you have that knowledge of God? You can only have that knowledge of God by relationship. So, what does He want? He wants you to fall in love with Him. In the Song of Solomon, chapter 1, it says, "Let him kiss me with the kisses of his mouth." I want to tell you, that book, if you could read it in the Hebrew language and you understood the Hebrew language, it's almost pornographic from our point of view. It is so deeply entrenched in that relationship between a man and a woman. And there is your picture of the knowledge of God. That you must come into His presence. And you must fall in love with Him. And He will take you into the conception chamber where you will make love. And I want you to know, I am not talking physically. I'm talking spiritually. Because tonight, I want you to know it is possible for you to know God. But if all you know about God is intellectual, you do not know God. Because God is not discernible intellectually. He's way beyond that. God is spirit. And to know Him, to know Jesus Christ today, to know Him is a knowledge that a man has of his wife. The word is used in Genesis chapter 4 and chapter 4 verse 1, where it says, and Adam knew his wife. He knew his wife. He had a knowledge of his wife which nobody else has ever had. You see, to know God, beloved, is the most important thing in your life, the most important knowledge you will ever have. But it comes out of the relationship. It's not you and God coming together and God said, now, sit down there. I'm going to tell you all about myself now. No. What do you think I did when I got married? That night of our honeymoon, that first night. You think I sat on the side of the bed and said, okay, honey, I want you to tell me everything you did. You know, tell me about all the dolls you had, tell me what you did and what you played with, and, you know, all of this stuff. Do you have any boyfriends at school? No, I don't think so. I wanted to know my wife, but I wanted to know her in a totally different way. I wanted to become one with her. For in Genesis chapter 2, it says, for this cause will a man leave his father and his mother, and will cleave to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. But you know what Paul said in 1 Corinthians chapter 6? He says, he that's joined to a harlot is one flesh, but he that's joined to the Lord is one spirit. One spirit. Beloved, this is what it's all about. This is what it's all about. Instead of living by the light of the moon, remember that's moonshine, the light of the moon. It means that you are living by the light that maybe some preacher has received and he's reflecting it toward you. That's moonshine. He wants you to live by the light of the sun. So therefore, you need to know Him personally, not second-hand knowledge. Why was it that Israel, after all those years of sacrificing, you know, every day, thousands of animals on the altars and so on, and in Jeremiah chapter 7 verse 21, what does He say? God says, I never told any of your fathers to offer those sacrifices to me.